Good afternoon, and welcome to season 2, episode 8 of Sipping Tea with Stacey T. And guess what? My birthday's tomorrow. Woo, woo, woo. Yeah, I mean, it's my birthday, right? But you would not know it because your girl had to go out and shovel this morning. It is what it is. This. Yes. Hey, Cheryl. Hey, Tiffany. How you doing? Y'all, what a few days, right? Um, First of all, last episode was our anniversary, our 1 year anniversary of Sipping Tea with Stacey T. So excited that I've been able to be on this journey, not just for myself and with God, but with you all. So I want to tell you, I fully and wholly appreciate you. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you holding me down. I appreciate you, um, you know, being there when it's been very difficult for me and continuing to encourage me to keep going and all the things y'all know what you've been doing. So I just want to thank you for that. um what in the world, something just popped up on my screen that I've never seen before. That's why I was like, what is that? But again, I just want to thank you all so much for your support in this whole journey, and I'm looking forward to many, many more times. So I have a lot going on today because I want to read something to you that struck a chord with me. And it's from this book that I got as a gift, A Closer Walk with Jesus by David Jeremiah. Um, it's daily, like, so every day there's a different reading, kind of like the Daily Bread. I think I mentioned this last time, but heightened. If you look inside of it, really well done. Has some separators. So this is like the month of May, so it kind of gives you that. But I'm gonna read from that in a second. Today we're gonna do a tea that I love, because you know what? It's the day before my birthday, and so I can. That's basically what what it boils down to. Yeah, onions all week for real. But today we're going to be having, if you haven't been here, you don't know, this is literally one of my favorite teas, which is the Revolution Spanish white peach tea. Love it, love it, love it. Hey, how you doing, Bishop Moore? Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Yes, so you're going to give me grace today. This is the tea that I'm drinking, y'all. I'm telling you right now, if you have not had this tea, it is so good. I never heard of Revolution before that, but this is where we're at. So I'm going to get that in my mug, which, by the way, I love this mug so much, y'all. This was given to me by my goddaughter. My cup overflows with blessings. And then the inside, you guys can see it says Psalm 27:5. Oh, 23:5. Sorry, y'all. I love this. I love this. And yeah, I need my cup to overflow with all the blessings, with all the blessings. So, as I was saying, last week we celebrated our 1 year, and this year has been something, right? It's been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of ebbs and flows, but through it, God has sustained the entire time. I can't say that I know exactly why, the journey has been this journey, but you all know my saying for the year: God, I don't understand, I don't like it, but I trust you. And so the last part is going to be the part that I have to pay most attention to, because there are going to be things that happen throughout the year that make me have to rely on God, right? And it's not that I haven't, it's not that I don't, but when you say that to God, He's gonna be like, okay, cool, let's what we doing, Stacey? What we doing? So let me just steep this real quick. Get that. You guys can probably see the steam, right? Because this water is hot, hot. So I'm just gonna do that, and I will add my honey momentarily. But y'all, just even the smell of that tea by itself is amazing. Is amazing. I also want to point out something, y'all. So right before this, I was sitting and getting ready for the episode and trying to do a little bit of something with my face, which I didn't get to complete. But y'all, give me grace, give me grace. But y'all, I got this amazing delivery. Y'all, what in the world? Beautiful floral delivery sent to me. And y'all, the color's purple because she knows me. She knows me. So I just want to say thank you, Alexandra. This was so special. She wished me, a happy birthday, which is tomorrow, but also a happy 1 year anniversary of sipping tea. Y'all, it's so nice to feel supported. They are beautiful. Hey, Kathy, how are you doing? So beautiful, so supportive. But again, y'all, this is what I want to talk to y'all about. This book was given to me and is really special because that's what I want, a closer walk, right? Because, I mean, he talks to me every day. I talk to him every day. Sometimes I feel like he's sick of me, but, it is what it is, Lord. You're stuck with me. You're stuck with me. So, as I said, every day, oh, sorry, y'all, I'm horrible at that, but every day has a different message. I'm going to actually read to you today's message because it really is why I'm going to be talking about what I'm talking about today. I actually had something else in mind, but this has been something that I've been talking about this week anyway. So it says, blessed to bless others. It says, at Joppa, there was a certain disciple named Tabitha, which is translated to Dorcas. This woman was full of good works and charitable deeds, and which she did. And that's from Acts 9:36. And then underneath it, it says, what do you think about when you hear the word legacy? Many people think of legacy solely in terms of material gifts designated upon death. But a legacy is so much more than our possessions. A true legacy cannot be quantified, but is rich in its rewards. For instance, who can put a value on meeting the needs of the brokenhearted? Or how can we measure the blessing of having a godly father and mother? Dorcas left a tremendous legacy for those who knew her. She was full of good works and charitable deeds. Upon her death, her friends gathered and wept in sorrow at her passing. They also brought pieces of clothing Dorcas had sewn for them as they remembered her generosity to them during her life. This beloved disciple of Christ shared the talents and gifts God gave her with others. She was lovingly remembered for her goodness. In fact, she was loved so much that her friends sent for the apostle Peter, who came and raised her from the dead, which y'all know did not just happen to everybody, right? As you can see the needs of people, as you see the needs of people around you, take the time to share whatever talents, treasure, or time you possess to enrich the lives of others. So, y'all, let me just tell you, first of all, y'all know I got to put my glasses back on so I can, I mean, it's not like I'm really seeing y'all, but so I can see myself to talk to y'all. But when I read that, when I just tell, I mean, and I will tell you that Tiffany has been able to participate in many of my conversations on TikTok. So for those of you who know, I've actually been talking about legacy this week. I was in a space, and I think it's because my birthday is tomorrow, and the older you get, and I don't have kids, right? So the older you get and you don't have children, you think about that. Like, what is your legacy? What are people going to remember you by? Because it's not like I have seed that is going to live past me, right? So I was like, okay, God, what is it like? Why have you had me really sitting in this space? And I think sometimes when we think of legacy, we only think about it in terms of like yourself. How people are going to remember you. Are people going to remember you? Are people going to think about you? That type of a thing, right? But I think it's also remembering whose legacy you are living in currently, right? And so many of you know that my father is no longer here. But and sometimes when I think about in terms of who he was and what the impacts on me were, there's obviously going to be times where you can think about the negative impacts of any person, right? But there are very real life positive impacts that he left, right? There was a very real legacy that he left, one of which is me being a storyteller. Like, now, mind you, the man told sometimes the same story over and over again because, that's what people do. But he was an amazing storyteller. He would get people really entrenched in what he was talking about, engrossed in what he was talking about. He had a really, amazing ability to gain that attention, to have that charisma. And I feel like, a lot of what my ability to do that, my ability to talk to people, my ability to be a trainer has been based on that legacy of him being an amazing storyteller. Clearly, I got that also from my mom. Because my mother is also, obviously an educator. She has the ability to break down things. And, sometimes when you're telling a story, you have to also remember your audience. And I feel like I gained that from her. My father was like, you're going to get the story the way that I give it. My mom was kind of like, because she had to change and tweak it, and me observing her as an educator, and even when she taught in church, I was able to see how she was able to take information, right, and splice it down, break it down so that everybody could digest it and everybody was able to take advantage of it. So important to be able to do that, right? When you're having conversations with people. So, this week I've been on TikTok and, kind of in my feelings. I get this way every year around my birthday, y'all. It's no surprise, no shocker. What have I done with my life? How have I impacted the world? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm not trying to get into a woe is me. That's not that's not the reason why I'm sharing that. But I feel like a lot of people get into that space when they're, going through something, or especially when you're in your healing journey. A lot of times people forget that when you're on your healing journey, you're thinking about your past, but you're also doing that because you want your present to be different and your future to be more solidified, to be more whole, right? At least that's my why. Why am I doing this work? And so as I sat and I thought about, all the things and what I've been going through this year, and what my process has been, I'm looking at a legacy of me being vulnerable in a space where it makes me entirely uncomfortable. Me teaching or training is entirely fine, right? I have zero problem doing that. People that have met me, which is interesting, have thought of me probably as fairly open in that I don't mind having conversation with people. I've often used some of my own life experience, especially where I feel like it was helpful to someone to know that they could relate, or I had somebody that would get it. That being said, this has been entirely different, right? An entirely different experience, because in this experience, I've had to sit in a space of, um, of pure vulnerability, of true transparency. And y'all, I'm going to tell you that I've learned, and I think many people have learned throughout life, not to necessarily be that open with people, not to necessarily tell people, quote unquote, tell them your business, that type of a thing. And as I've been going through this particular journey, especially when God had me navigate towards TikTok, he was basically like, I need you to be honest. I need you to be transparent about what you're going through and what you've managed. So when I first started my healing journey, I was, just doing it. I was just like, okay, I'm going to, be a better version of myself, and that's cool. I think everybody should aspire to be the best version of themselves, which means consistently working on yourself, because at no point do you master it, right? So it's that. And I was okay with that. I was, excited about the potential of me being a better version of Stacey. I had no idea, fast forward several months, that I was going to be going through something that would rock me to my core, because it challenged my belief in myself. It challenged my belief in how people show up. It challenged my thought about, man, is my discernment off? Like, y'all, when I say I was challenged, I was heartbroken, I was just, y'all, it was a lot. It was a lot. And, you know, as I'm thinking about, and as I was thinking about, the end of the year, I was thinking about the fact that I was going to be single for the first time in Thanksgiving than I've been in years. I was single for the first time for Christmas than I had been in years. And it's not that we spent every Christmas or Thanksgiving together. It's just the knowing that you have a person, right? Then I was, so again, that Thanksgiving, that Christmas, the New Year, that was very, I will say the New Year was probably the most challenging. And you know, the interesting thing about the New Year and me releasing the video that you all know about was, I needed for there to be closure. I needed for there to be release. I needed for me to feel seen to me, right? It was not about the other person. It was literally, yes, I didn't want to feel humiliated. I did not want to feel like I was being hidden. I didn't want to feel like 4 years of my life was for nothing, right? So there was that also in it, but it was really about me saying, Stacey, you deserve to tell your story the way that makes you comfortable, though, the way that makes you feel seen. And this was not like something that I didn't go to God with. It was absolutely something that I went to him with, and he didn't tell me not to do the thing. And so I was like, okay. And then I, had family members look at it. They were like, it was very well, very appropriate, very, I didn't do too much. I didn't do too much. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. So I didn't do too much, right? I was doing what I needed to do in the space that I need to do it in, right? Because for me, This year was about restoring everything that I felt had been taken. And not just restoring, but also adding on. Because y'all, last year, everything was, well, not everything, so many things were stripped from me, right? I no longer was an elected official. That began at the beginning of the year. Then I lost my job following that. Then I lost my relationship later on in the year. It was a cycle of things. And so at the end of the year, I had to say, okay, that's the end of that. That's the end of that season, Stacey. That's the end of a season of loss. That's the end of the season of being stripped from things. Your legacy is not this one year, right? And although people may look at the year and say, wow, that was a bad year. And it was a cruddy year, y'all. 2025 was not a good year for me, but that year does not solidify my legacy. That's not all that I'm going to be remembered for. That's not the entire impact that I've had on the world, on the people that have been around me, has not been just because of those situations and those incidents. Yes, were they hard to manage? Yes. Does it still sometimes sting every once in a while? You better believe it does. But at the end of the day, God, and this is the thing, right? Even though the things that happen in life are mysteries to me, right? I don't know what the world is happening half the time. I don't know what's going to happen, but they're not mysteries to God. They're known to him, right? And so when I say, God, I don't understand, I don't like it, but I trust you, that means I have to trust that even though the situations happen the way that they did, even though they did not feel good, even though they might have made me feel some type of way about myself and others, right? Even in spite of all that, I know God has it under control, and I also know He's a restorer, and He's also a person that He doesn't just restore, because restoring is just giving back what you lost. God does everything in increments, right? He doesn't do things like we just do 1 + 1 = 2. Not to Him, not to him. When he says he's going to open up the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that you have room enough, you don't have room to receive it, that means it's a lot, y'all. It's a lot. And so it's like my cup says, my cup overflows with blessings. That's what I'm walking in the expectation of this year. But how do I do that? It's by continuing my legacy. Your legacy does not, like, it's not like just the things that have happened to you. It's not just the things that you've done already. It's you saying, yes, Stacey, you've been through this situation, right? And you did this. But y'all, for me to be able to talk to you very clearly, very succinctly about the things that I've been through, for me to tell you, hey, yeah, I was treated poorly. I was told that no man would ever love me. I was told that, this and that and the other thing, right? For me to be able to tell you those things and still walk with my head held high is legacy for someone, right? It's a legacy of, yes, the devil will try to knock you down. The devil will try to make you feel defeated. The devil will try to say you're nobody or nothing. You have no value. You have no worth. But God says a very, very different thing. And when you continue to tap into him, a closer walk, right? When you continue to tap into that, your legacy is continuing to grow. It's continuing to be built. You do not have to be relegated to what has happened to you. That's a thing that happened. That's not who you are. That's not the entirety of your legacy. And if your legacy is built on pain, then that's okay, because what you're doing is you're telling people pain happens, but God still preserves, God still elevates, God still restores in spite of all those things. So for me, as I was sitting and I was thinking, and like, because I'm going to tell you, sometimes thinking about legacy, especially when you don't have kids, is challenging. It's challenging because most people will say, your legacy is passed down to your kids, right? They're going to take what you've been doing and continue it on. I don't have that. So then I was like, so God, then what? Right? Then what? And it's me being able to leave the seed of what my experience has been with people that are willing to receive it. We're all born with the seed of purpose, right? We're all born with this thing that is just us, that is beautifully divine in us, that is unique. And when God looked into eternity, he said, I need for Tiffany to bring this thing. I need Bishop Moore to deliver this thing. I need Kathy to deliver this thing. Cheryl to deliver this thing. Stacey to deliver this thing. I need them because there's something specific about how they will deliver it, who they'll impact, who will relate to them for a variety of reasons, some that we know, some we have no control over. But every single one of us was born with that. And in that, he already gave us legacy, right? That seed of purpose. If we complete it, if we fulfill it, it already has legacy attached to it. It already has impact. Because for me, I'm going to start looking at legacy as merely impact. What impacts have I had at this point of my life, and what ones do I want to continue to have? So that means me thinking forward, which is weird because when people think of legacy, they think back, right? What's going to be left? And so for me, I get to still design that, right? With God's grace, as many days, as many years as He continues to give me, as He continues to give you all, you have the ability. We are legacy, right? But we have the ability to impact that. We have the ability to say, okay, what do I want to do? What impacts do I want to have? What do I want to continue to bless people with? What do I want to continue to, charge people with or encourage people to do? Because there's such a need for, and I'm going to tell you right now specifically, there is such a need for people to feel encouraged. People are feeling so discouraged. If you look on TV, if you watch social media, if you read the news or watch y'all, everything feels heavy. Everything feels heavy. Imagine your impact being the person that somebody can go to brighten their day. And it doesn't seem like a lot to you because when most people think of impact, they think of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., right? Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., right? That's what they think about. When they think of impact, they might even think of, you know who, and the impact he's having in a negative way, right? So regardless of that, people are thinking this is legacy, this is impact. Your impact does not have to be on that scale to make a difference, right? It doesn't have to be global. It doesn't have to be something that everybody knows about. But it's been interesting. I've unfortunately, had to attend a few funerals in the last few years. And everybody has a different relationship with the person who has passed on, right? But it's amazing to hear the impacts that some people have on other people. I'm like, wow, I didn't know that they did that with so many people. I didn't know that they showed up that way with people. I didn't know that people relied on them or used them as a confidant. Or I didn't know. We all have a role to play. And it's important that we remember it is important. Our role, regardless of how small or how minor we think it is, I think so many of us underestimate the big little things that we do because a lot of what we do may not be glorified. Some people may never even utter it. There's so many people, if you think about it, right, that in their passing, in their death, that's when people are like, man, so-and-so did X, Y, and Z, right? They did such amazing things. Look at the impact that they had on the world. They never got to hear people talk about them like that, right? But what I want, and again, that's also not the important part. The important part is doing what God placed you here to do, right? What He thought you could do, what He left you with, what He knows you have the capability of fulfilling, do that thing. If that is being the best, speaker, then be that. If it's being the best cook or teacher or trainer or the best electrician or the best person that creates songs or the best person that shows people what patience looks like on a grand scale, whatever it is, do that to the best of your ability because that is the impact that the world needs. That is why you are here. So do your best to live the legacy that you need to do. Don't assume that it has to be something specific. Don't assume that it's not enough. We need to stop doing that. God birthed something in you. The other thing that I want to talk about with legacy is this, right? Many of us are not fulfilling the legacy that we were sent here to fulfill. And there's lots of reasons, and we can make lots of excuses, and some of them are very, very logical. I get it, because your girl can do that. I can make up all the reasonings that some things have not taken place yet. But what I will say is this: imagine that God put you in a specific role, and you not doing your specific duty, you not living the legacy that He assigned to you, means that everybody behind you also doesn't fulfill theirs. Imagine that, right? So it's important for us to remember, yes, do you feel sometimes that, your contribution is not that dynamic? I'm sure I feel it. Do you feel sometimes that what you might do, it's not going to, at the end of the day, is it going to make that bit of a difference? Yes, it is. And I know that there's a mentality that says that it's not that big a deal. I know that there's a season where people are like, whatever, fine. Yeah, it was cool, but it wasn't that big of a deal. I get that. But I'm going to tell you that God does nothing by mistake. He is very, if I mean, he has a sense of humor, but if nothing else, he is extremely intentional. When he literally decided that you needed to be on this earth, he was like, okay, I know that this one's going to be sarcastic and there are going to be people that relate to that sarcasm. I know this person is going to be a powerhouse, and that personality, that dynamic way that they show up, and the way that they love, and the way that they talk to people, and the way they embrace people, the way they talk about God, that is needed. So I'm going to make sure that they see the people that interact with the people, and that they are born, first of all, that they come here and that they're able to fulfill their duty. So I want you to know that it's okay to have moments, because I feel like one of the things that I've been taught growing up, and I've been taught this mostly, I will say, in church or religious conversations, I should say, is that they really, it's like, just keep going, just keep going. Sometimes what God is telling you is to sit your tail down somewhere, right? Sometimes he's like, I'm gonna need you to relax. That's what I need you to do, because you're so busy, so busy being over here and doing this thing and doing this thing. And it's fine to do nice things. We just talked about Dorcas, right? She's known for her good deeds, but they're supposed to be deeds that God has ordained or God has established for you to do. It's not being busy for the sake of being busy, because let me just tell you, you can do all the things and be all the places and show up and preach and testify and work in the prison ministry and just be a person that helps people. You pay it forward all the time when you go to Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks, right? You can be all and do all those things, and you can still be out of alignment. Because if God didn't instruct you to be doing all the things to be busy, sometimes we're busy because we don't want to sit and have God do what he needs to do, right? We don't want to sit and have him download to us what needs to happen, what the next steps are. Because sometimes the next steps we don't want to take. Let's be honest. We know, we're like, if I can stay real busy, maybe God won't notice that I'm not doing X, Y, and Z, right? He knows, y'all. He knows. There's no busyness that's gonna, distract from that. He has assigned a legacy within your seed that you are supposed to fulfill. You, meaning me too. I'm part of you, right? That we're supposed to fulfill. And we either will or we won't, because he's not going to force. That's not his zhuzh. He does not do that. But each and every one of you has a very special thing that only you can do. Only you. People may be close to it. They may have a semblance of that, but it's not you doing it. And a lot of times when we think about, the things that we've been through in our lives, we don't understand the why. Like, okay, Lord, it's not like, oh, Lord, I got betrayed. Thank you so much for that betrayal. I can see that it's going to bless the people of God. Who says that? Who says that? At no point. Let's be honest. Yes, I know that it's all things work together for my good because I love the Lord and I'm called according. I get it, y'all. I get it, right? But at no point is somebody like, oh man, this is fantastic that, somebody just treated me horribly. I know that God is going to make an example out of this, and this is going to be a part of my legacy. Nobody does that. Stop it. Absolutely stop it. We deal with it. We heal from it. We sit in it sometimes. Sometimes we cry or we mourn based on whatever the situation is. Sometimes it's a loss of relationship, whether that be a friendship or a romantic relationship. Sometimes it's a loss of somebody who passes on, right? And when that happens, I will tell you, many people go through a really hard time with, God, especially if that person was sickly and you prayed for a miracle. Like, okay, I'm believing God for a miracle. And then the person passes on and people are like, God, wait a minute, what's going on? Right? That doesn't feel like an answered prayer, but he doesn't answer prayers the way we expect him to do the things. If nothing else, know that God does things the way that it needs to happen, not the way that we would like for things to happen, right? I've learned that. I've definitely learned that. So for me, I just want, and this is not going to be a long episode because I want to be very specific about talking about legacy. And I want us to remember that we all have legacy that we are living in currently. So I want you to think about whose legacy you're living in. I want you to think about what parts of the legacy are parts that you want to live in, and what parts of the legacy was a lesson that you have to grow through, right? Because every single person that we interact with has things that they are good at, some things that they are working on, and some things they should have left alone, right? And us included. So sometimes, the people in our family, the people that we interacted with in school, the people we've had relationships with, the people we've interacted with at church, we have connection to those people. It doesn't mean that every single one of those people is going to have an impact on us, but they may. And what I want you to understand is, just like I've told you, you have to protect the seed of purpose inside of you. Remember, I just said your legacy is attached to that seed. So that means you have to make sure that the injury that sometimes comes to us through living our life does not corrupt that seed, because then it corrupts the legacy. And the legacy is the impact. It's not just doing the work, right? Yes, God has told you, okay, I want you to open a school, right? So you open the school, boom. But then you have nothing to do with it. That's not it, right? He wants you to open the school for a specific reason, right? And yes, some people might think, well, opening the school alone is the legacy. That's a part of it, but it's what you, as a person of God, as a person of faith, as a person with a relationship with God, what are you doing to impact all those students that are going to be coming through that school? What are you going to be doing to impact all the people who work at the school, whether they're custodians or whether they are the principal? What is it that you are doing as a person that God gave this vision to, right? Gave this purpose to? How are you protecting the seed of purpose, and how are you moving toward impact? Because it's not a one and done. God doesn't say, okay, I want you to build a school and then that's it. You cool. Because if that was the case, then your purpose would be fulfilled on the earth and you wouldn't be here. Right? So that means we all still have impact. We are all currently building legacy. What do you want yours to be? What do you want yours to be? What impact do you feel in your belly when you think about it? You're like, man, I really should be doing this, or man, I really wish that I could do this. Maybe you're not going to be able to do all the things, but maybe you can be a part of it, right? Okay, I've wanted to do X, Y, and Z. Maybe you don't have the funds right now, or maybe God is wanting to connect you with somebody that does have the funds, somebody that believes in your vision, somebody that supports you because they see your hunger to get it done, to impact the community, whatever it may be. So sometimes we're like, I don't want to talk to that person. God, I don't want to even communicate with that person. That person's shady. I don't like them. They're funky. They're this, they're that, right? And in that time, God is trying to connect us with somebody, because the connection to that person moves our purpose, moves our legacy in the direction that it needed to be. And we're like, nah, that's not my type of person. That's not my cup of tea. I'm not doing that, God. And he's like, okay, cool. Y'all, I'm in a space that and it's a weird space, because I'm in a space where there's so many ideas that are floating around in my brain that it's almost a little bit overwhelming. It's a little bit overwhelming. I'm writing the book. I have a play that's in my head. I have ideas for merchandise that I want to get out there. Y'all, there's a lot that is in my head. And I will tell you very specifically, when I have ideas like that, I just don't get them. There's something God, literally, I feel like he downloads some of the stuff in me to then get it out of me. But if I just keep talking about it and I'm not working towards it, then it sounds good. It's a great soundbite, right? But I'm just saying, oh yeah, well, I want to do this and I want to do that, but why are you not doing it? Because none of us knows. We do not have infinite time. And I said this last time, we do not have infinite time. That's why I said, last week we were talking about love. Love on the people that you need to love on. Share love with people. Sometimes do it afraid and keep asking God to eliminate that fear. Especially if he's like, okay, go ahead. And you're like, but God, and he's like, go ahead. Go ahead. You have to make sure that you're including God in the things that you're doing, right? including him in your conversations, going to him with the things that you're afraid of. And y'all, I get it. Again, you do not have to Bible me to death about fear is not of the Lord, Stacey. Yes, I know, but it was also in the Bible hundreds of times. The word fear. Do not be afraid. Why do you think it says do not be afraid every single time they have somebody has a vision or an angel? Why? Because people were afraid. So they knew to say, do not be afraid. You shouldn't live in a state of fear, but it's just like anger. It doesn't say that you're not going to have anger. It just says don't let the sun set on it, or don't be quick to. But it doesn't say you're not going to have those things, right? So it's important that we read for understanding. Don't just read for it sounds good. It's a quick soundbite. But I'm excited that I have these ideas. But what I want you all to do is I want for you, this is a homework assignment, y'all. It's a homework assignment. Yep, I'm giving y'all homework. I want you to write down all the ideas of things that you've wanted to do. And this is the same thing I'm going to be doing. I'm going to write down all the ideas, all the things that I've thought about, right? Because in that is legacy. And I'm not saying every single thing that you're going to do, because this is the thing, right? Sometimes we have these ideas of things that we want to do, but it's not for us to do. It might be God wants us to give that to someone. Hey, I see, Stacey, you write plays. God gave me this idea. Is it something that you're interested in? Now, sometimes if you ask me, depending on the day, I'm be like, God gave it to you. I'm gonna need you to run with that. Right? But if it's something that you're like, God told me to tell you, I'm gonna have to pray to God first, y'all. I'm gonna be honest. But the reality is, sometimes we're supposed to share what we have in our head with somebody else because it's their vision. So, similar to someone who was talking to me the other day about, business ownership. And I was like, y'all, the idea of having to like do the books and all that is so unattractive to me. I can't even tell you how unattractive it is because I have zero desire to do that. Zero whatsoever. Owning a business, I'm not opposed to that, but I don't want to do any of that stuff. I literally, y'all, and this has come to me most recently. I recognize that I want to live in a creative space in my mind. I want to create. That's what I want to do. If you want me to be bogged down with doing books and stuff, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So it's like, okay, God, we finally, it took me to this age to establish what it is that I like, right? What it is that I enjoy. And this is another thing is as young kids, we're taught to dream. Then we stop dreaming, right? At a certain age. I don't know what the age is. We remember we had a hard time figuring out the cutoff of that. But the problem then becomes like we get into the space of we just have to do everything practical and be responsible, whatever that means, right? I'm not saying don't pay bills. I'm not saying don't do what you need to do to live, right? I'm not saying that. But the reality of it is why do we think the God that created all things can't make it possible for us to actually enjoy what it is that we do? My mother was a teacher for 45 years. I would dare to say she enjoyed what she did. I'm not saying she enjoyed every student because I don't think that would be the truth, right? I don't know if she enjoyed every parent because I'm fairly certain that having taught that I know I didn't. So I'm sure that wasn't always the truth, but the crux of what she did, the meat of what she got to do to like to encourage young minds to think about, new things and try new things and learn new concepts. And she got to see the light bulb come on for kids that were having a hard time and were able then, because of her work and her dedication, they were able to see like, oh, I can learn. I can believe in myself. I can achieve, right? Because I'm sure some kids came in from families that were like, this kid's a dummy. This kid's never going to learn. This kid's, all these things that sometimes people say, trying to be funny, trying to be cutesy, right? But stick in these kids' heads. And she was able to unwire some of that negative self-talk that if you don't unwire it early on, just lives on as you get older, right? So she was able to do that. So why is it that I'm like, oh, I have to be practical and I have to do this job because, If she's the example, she gave the legacy of do what you love. Do what you love, right? So that, and again, that probably wasn't something that she thought was a legacy piece, right? but it sits in my brain as, man, she got to do that for her entire career. Why could I not do the same thing? And it is possible if we believe that God can do all things. So either we trust him or not. Like, that's up to us. Do you trust him or kinda? Because if you kinda trust him, you don't trust him. Right? It's kind of like that idea that I gave you guys about partial obedience. It's full disobedience. It's full. But it sounds good to say partial, right? So I just want us, y'all, I didn't even drink any of my tea. I got so into this conversation. Y'all, this tea is so good. I literally don't even have to put anything in it. Like, that's how good. I mean, I'm going to, but I literally don't have to put much into it. So I'm telling you guys right now, for those of you who like peach tea, I'm gonna need you to try this. I'm gonna need you to try this. Revolution, Spanish white peach and ginger. It is so good. But also, let me tell you this, and it's interesting. You guys know that my mother purchased, I have one of the bags. So she purchased this for me, right? The True Honey Teas. And this is the peppermint one, which I tried last time, which was so good. But the interesting thing is these True Honey Teas, because I've had 4 in it. I think it was four that she purchased. You can taste the difference in the tea. What I mean by that, because they talked about their tea, in that they actually doubled the amount, and that's very evident. It is very evident. And I say that because just the rich tea flavor that you get out of those, you don't necessarily get with the other ones. So you're still getting a nice cup of tea, but that like heavy tea flavor, you're not getting that outside of those from what I've tasted so far. But again, there's a lot more tea for me to try and you know, all that good stuff. But that's one thing, just even in taking that sip, that it reminded me that, man, the other tea is so much bolder. For those people who don't like a bold taste, though, they might prefer just a single tea bag, just like this one is. So, all right. So with that, I just want to, again, thank you all. I know it's early. It's 18 minutes early. But I'm in the space, and I told you all this when I started my second season. I'm not going to be dragging things on. I'm going to come on, and when God tells me to say stuff, I'm going to say it. And when he's done, I'm done. Right? So for those of you who are interested, this is a book that I would recommend, A Closer Walk with Jesus, David Jeremiah. Thank you. I appreciate that. So remember, y'all got homework. Write down all the things that you are interested in doing, things that you've thought about doing, and maybe some of the ones that you're like, oh, that's too big a dream for me. It's too big a thing. It's no way I can do it. I want you to write down all those things, and I want you to pray over them. I want you to pray over them, and I want you to ask God, make clear to me what of this, because I feel like what people don't recognize is God will kind of give you hints and move you toward people, move you toward situations, right? And sometimes we're just not picking it up. So write those things down and then pray over them and ask God for clarity. God, which of these things is my legacy? Which of these things should I pursue right away? And if you're trying to, like I am, have that be my income stream, say, God, which of these is my first decision so that I can make sustainable income? I feel like it's so weird that we don't feel like we can ask God about our finances. Like, God, people just ask God about their finances. God, help me, Lord, help me make the money stretch. No, God, help me make the money. Help me make the money. We're like, we don't have to live in struggle. We don't have to do that. We do not have to live like that. Okay. All right, y'all. I'm done. Tomorrow's my birthday. Thank you guys for spending this pre-birthday with me. I appreciate it. Make sure to get some tea, sip some tea. Hopefully it is not snowing where you are. It's supposed to snow again tomorrow, and it's going to be a lot of snow. So pray for my knees and my back. Pray for my knees and my back and my mind. Pray for my mind too, y'all. Y'all, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and extend to yourself first, and then to me, your girl, a measure of grace. I will see you next week with another episode 9 of Sipping Tea with Stacey T in season 2. Have a great one, y'all. Bye.